Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast. Today's guests, we've got two of them, not one, but two. Well, they've kind of been in our lives for a long old time. They started off on our screens in Towie. Since then, we've followed their family lives. They are business women. They are sisters. They have 6 children between them. It's Sam and Billie Faiers.
Hello.
How are you both?
Good.
Thank you. That's quite a lot of children now, and between us now we have 9. We have 3 apiece.
That is so crazy. When you say it like that, actually, that is mad, isn't it?
It's a lot. And we say, like, my mum now, it's like, Mum, you've got 6 grandkids.
Yeah.
From just the 2 of us.
Yeah.
Because she went from 4 to 6 real quick.
In the space of a year.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, in the space of a year.
That is a lot of procreation that we've done.
Yeah.
We've done our bit.
Yeah.
There we go, that's it.
And we have a little guest, although she's not actually in the studio.
Yeah.
Margot's next door, so if anything happens, Margot's listening. If she doesn't like anything, she'll let us know.
She will let us know.
How are you feeling? Because obviously Margot's 7 weeks.
Yes, yeah. I'm good. I feel like, well, today's actually my first kind of work commitment out of the house.
Yeah.
So this morning it was quite, I don't know, I think, do you know what it is? I think the building up to it, like, of getting back to work,
Yeah.
I've been like, not overthinking, but thinking like you don't
It's quite
ever
daunting.
You don't
It
want the
is.
bubble to end, do you?
Yeah.
And I feel good. Like, I feel tired, usual. I've been just struggling. Like, it's like, I think becoming a mum of 3 as well, it is quite a big
The transition
change.
is big.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And although, like, loads of people said to me, oh, it's going to be really easy because Nellie's a bit older, Arthur's a bit older, but actually it is it's not easy, and it is like a lot. But yeah, I'm fine. I'm just a bit tired. Margot was really good this morning. I was all on time. I thought I'm going to, like, obviously I'm up early anyway, going to be really organised, because that was the other thing. I've got to be somewhere on time today.
Yeah.
And that's probably the first time since having her, like this morning, where I'm committed to to do this. I've got to be there. So I was all organised. Everything was packed. I was getting everything ready for the car, but she hadn't had her morning poo. So I'm thinking, oh gosh, like, I could see she's straining.
It's coming,
point, yeah. But I didn't want her to do it in the car on the way here, because I thought that's going to be a nightmare. Like, it's going to be explosion. Anyway, so get her in the car seat, and I'm thinking, oh, the car's outside now, and I really need to get in the car. Put all the stuff in, come back in. Thank the Lord she'd done the poo. It was huge, but it was one of those. I started changing her, and it didn't end. It was like
kept on coming.
It was like projectile, like, and then I thought it'd gone on me, but it hadn't gone on her. So we had to do an outfit change. But I was so grateful. I was like, thank you. Like, you just,
Yeah.
I was like, thank you, Margot. Your timing was amazing, because I just thought if she'd done that in the car, I would have been a woman on the edge. Like, I couldn't imagine, like, not being able to get out of the car seat. And
Well, actually, do you remember when Edward was 4 months old? We were on our first flight, so on the aeroplane, and exactly the same happened. And I was like, first flight, like, everything was going so well through the airport. Like, first flight for Edward and all 3 kids. Got on the flight, sat down, and he done the biggest. And it was all up his back. I got a picture of it. I remember posting it on Instagram. So I was like, so parents, like, don't worry, this does happen to all of us.
Yeah.
And it was like pure, like, orange at the time, like mustard seeds all up his back. And then he fell asleep. So now I was like, now what? And I said to Paul, actually, if he's all right, then I'm all right. Like,
Yeah.
I'm okay. And it doesn't really smell at that stage.
No, it's
does
like,
it?
I feel like it's ham and cheese toasties. That's what I
it
think
is a
the
little
smell
bit.
is.
Yeah, I know what you mean, actually. Savoury.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
See, ours has
savoury
changed now, because Edward's
food.
I'm weaning him and he's eating food. The texture and the smell is getting stronger. So they're not
More
as
poo-like.
cute.
Yeah.
You can't just throw them in the bin anymore. They've got to go in the bag
They
outside.
have to go in the bag.
Yeah, straight away, there's no
Yeah.
delay. I mean, I love that we've started chatting about poo.
I know.
That's where we started.
There we go.
Yeah.
And also, 10 years ago, who'd have thought that you'd be so excited about a little person pooing?
Pooing, I know, and that is it. Like, I was thinking, because I this morning I was just like, when she started straining, I was stressing, because I was thinking, oh no, she's got to do this before. And yeah, I was just so excited when she'd done it.
Billy was
before.
pacing
Yeah.
up and down looking at her
I
watch.
was like, oh, I've got to get going now. And I was thinking, come on, Margot. And then I was happy.
Well, well done for getting to your first appointment back
Thank
on
you.
time. I'm sorry that, I I feel like that little bit of guilt. Actually, that I brought you out of the house.
No, because actually I was really looking forward to it because yesterday I was actually thinking I actually really need to get out of this house now. Like,
Really?
It does help.
I have been, like, obviously we've had Christmas and I had Margot on the 2nd of December, so I had a lot of time like over Christmas just to be at home, which I really enjoyed. And actually yesterday, because like I say, I've been thinking, like getting back to work and stuff, like the bubble's ending and like everything's getting back to normal. And I think that's quite hard when you have a baby, actually, when reality sets in. And yesterday I thought I was at home all day with her and she was a bit niggly, you know, like I couldn't put her down, I couldn't get anything done anyway. And I thought, I'm really excited to actually get up in the morning and have somewhere to go with her, of course.
Yeah.
And then, like, I thought my whole mindset changed. You know, like I thought I'm actually really looking forward to being somewhere and using my brain a little bit and like having that, like, just getting up to go somewhere.
Yeah, which is also why you two having your own podcast as well must help in that way as well. You're like, it's you two sitting down and chatting in a way that you probably don't find the time to do if it wasn't a work commitment. I know that sounds bad.
No, completely.
It's so true. And we always say that, like, we're really grateful for our podcast. And like, actually, we never get to sit and have an hour's chat like this without the children. Or mind you, if they're at home, they're always disturbing
Are they
us.
on the podcast?
No. They try to be. There's always like someone peeping over the shoulder. Like.
Or like you see the door creak open in the background. And it's,
But we was laughing actually because it was our first podcast back together. We recorded it on Monday, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then I got a text message from Billie after saying, I'm really sorry. My brain was just frazzled then. I didn't know what I was saying.
It was really weird.
I didn't really notice it that much. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, I know that she was being a little bit kind of like flaky at times, but then I understand that because it's like baby brain, you know, and she's tired and Mum was asking you questions about Margot in the background. Like, I knew where you was at. So I
My
didn't
head was
really...
spinning,
But Billie was like, I'm really sorry about that one. Don't know how that's going to come out.
I don't know, because it was my first one back and I was really looking forward to doing it. And I thought, you know, I'm going to share all my story, like the birthday story and this and that. But when I sat down, it was almost like I had a mind block. It was really weird. And I was like, then I was overthinking like what I was talking about. And then I was thinking like, this isn't me. What am I even saying?
Yeah.
And it's baby brain.
It's the fog, I think, that
Fog,
descends upon you, and it's like you're walking through.
Yes.
Yeah, just the fog.
It's such a thing.
So weird. It's so like it really. But I think I remember my midwife saying to me that it is to do with your hormones as well. Like when you've had a baby, because you get it during pregnancy, and then you get it after. And I feel like
But I still get it. I still get it sometimes now. And Edward's 8 months now.
Yeah,
Hasn't left me yet.
No, I don't know if it's left me. And my
I don't
youngest
think it ever
is 4.
does.
Yeah,
No, I don't think
we're
it does.
stuck.
I think it's
We're
that big
stuck.
long list of things that you've always got to do. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
So
There's-
true.
It's just never ending. So I actually saw something on Instagram recently, and it was like, it's not that Mum needs a nap, it's that Mum's always got something going on in her head constantly, knowing what's to do next. You know, it's never ending.
Well, it's that thing, isn't it? You start doing one thing. So say someone asks you, or say, you know, you've got to cook dinner. So you're about to do that, but then someone needs you to take their shoes off or find a toy. The cat needs to be fed.
Yes.
And then you've got to look at them. But there's so many different things.
multitasking.
Yeah, it's that makes our brains quite frazzled.
But that's what I'm really struggling with at the moment. Like, exactly what you've just said. Like I used to think I was quite good at multitasking, but actually I can't multitask now, right? I start doing one thing.
But Billie, Margot's 7 weeks old.
Yeah.
That is exactly
Goes down some
why.
slack.
Because it gets easier.
Yeah,
with the 3.
Because I'm questioning my
No.
Life choices.
What was I doing? I'm like, what was I doing? My mum asked me a simple question. I'm like, I don't know. Oh, you know, like I just can't think straight.
Also, but that's the thing. I think sometimes your brain just goes, don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to give that answer, actually. I don't want to actually think
about
and find that answer.
Yeah.
Just give an I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And that's it. I'm done. I'm going to
But
bed.
it does get a little bit easier because I was exactly the same. And like you were saying, and one of the kids wants something. But now it's like Edward's, you know, I can put him in the baby walker. I can sit him in the high chair with a snack. And it gives you a little bit more of a minute.
If anything, there'll come a stage where Margot's the easiest.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. The other two are so like Nellie understands it a bit more. She's 8, but Arthur is if he wants the biscuit, he wants it now, and it's like 1 minute I'm just doing, and then I actually find myself going, Nellie, will you just quickly get that for Arthur? And then I think we were talking about this, and I'm not. Am I a slave now? That's what she says to me. Am I a slave? And I'm like, no, you're just
No,
helping
am
me
I?
out. Yeah, exactly. Am I a slave? I'm like, no, it's called helping me. You know, like all this juggling and whatever at home.
What was your childhood like?
Oh, we had the best. We had such a great childhood, didn't we?
Is it just the two of you?
Just the two of us.
And you're super close in age as well?
Yeah, 11
11
months.
months.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We
my
was thinking, like,
mum-
Mum, what was you thinking?
Why were you having sex 2 months after a baby?
That's what we said.
She said it was the first time, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She said it was the first time, and it was obviously like a surprise.
I wasn't planned.
But Mum actually said it. She was she had us in a good routine. So Mum's not in.
She's so annoying.
We
sometimes.
slept through the night at 6 weeks. But
Like,
my
come
mum said,
on.
like, she said,
Does she get a little bit like, well, you were
Yes.
doing this when you were that age?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going
I've
on.
never had this with you two.
and we're like, oh my God, like Nellie didn't sleep till she was about 4. But Mum said that, but Mum said her life was very different to ours. She said, you know, I was literally at home with you. So
Yeah.
obviously used to go for walks, shopping, like the usual things. But she said there was no ever having to get using a strict routine from babe, not strict, but like a routine from babies. Like Mum said, I done the same thing every day with you, which
Was she working as well?
No.
So
She didn't.
that's a massive difference. isn't it?
exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, I think when I think about that, though, I was thinking about that on the way here about Mum, like us as babies and the routine stuff. But actually, that is also really hard, you know, like because
Harder,
Harder.
I think.
because I was really looking forward to getting out the house today
Yeah.
with Margot, but never sort of not saying Mum didn't have anything like that to look forward to, but you know, like
The
just-
monotony.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
And even with me, like I haven't fully gone back into like thrown myself back into work yet. And I've been with Edward every single day. He's with me all day, every day. And the last 2 weeks I've had a few bits going on. But like some days with Edward even, like the days can be so long.
Yeah.
And even though the kids are at school and you think, oh, I'm going to have all this time, what are we going to do? And it's like, and when the weather, I'm not just blaming the weather, but when it's been so bitter and cold, it's
Yeah.
like I actually can't even take him
No.
out. It's going to be really not enjoyable for me or him. And the days can feel so long. And I think, now what? Like we've been playing, we've had snacks, we've watched a little bit of TV, I've been, you know, chasing him around the kitchen. It's like, now what? And
Now
you do
what?
get, and it's only been, you know, a short amount of time.
And sometimes when you're at home as well, it's harder, isn't it? Because you don't really end up getting anything done anyway. And
Well, then they start getting frustrated or bored, and then
Bored,
they start
yes.
fighting. And then you just got to
Exactly.
get them out.
it's yeah.
Then
Yeah.
that's the only reason why any parent leaves the house is because it's all
Is
just,
it? Yeah, you minute.
Completely.
No, it's funny because both our partners, like Paul and Greg, they do most of the school runs, don't they?
Yeah.
Especially in the morning. But like as time's been going on with Edward, I go to Paul the night before. I'll do the school run in the morning because it just gives me that bit of time in the morning out of the house.
And it's a thing of seeing other people.
Yeah.
Exactly, like you know, having a little chat, and then even with Paul and Rosie in the car having a little chat. But
And
yeah,
also, it means that you're ready and dressed because you have to be by like
That's
8
it.
o'clock in the morning, or whatever time you have
Yeah.
to leave. Because that's the other thing. Like, and don't get me wrong, I've loved doing this, but there were some days I'd get up, have a shower, get back into my pajamas. Obviously, I know you do that with a newborn, and you have to enjoy that. But then some days, I almost didn't feel good about doing that. I felt like I actually need to get dressed.
Yeah.
And it made me feel a bit better and more energy
Yeah.
and like more motivated to do more. I don't know, like it's just being ready and out the house early makes you feel good sometimes, isn't it?
it does.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, I mean, for your mum having two of you so close together, I mean, what
It's
a...
just
know.
insane how she done that.
Yeah.
But no, going back to that, we actually had a lovely
childhood, yeah.
We done everything together from. We was like, well, we've always been besties.
Yeah. Except for when we were
Used
teenagers,
to
we
fight
used
all
to
the time.
fight. Like,
Did you?
oh, yes.
We used to fight all the time.
It used to be bad. My mum, in the end, she said it just gets, because obviously we always say to mum, like, oh, the sound of my own voice. Mum's like, this is payback. This is payback.
There was a stage where we used to share a room, and it used to go off in that room,
Yeah.
didn't it?
Really?
And all our friends would be there, and they'd always witness it.
I think one of our friends actually rang my mum up crying once because we was having such a bad fight.
But do you think there's also that thing with siblings where you do take it that extra mile,
completely.
knowing that, you know, it will all be okay. It's your person to safely discover, like to explore those emotions and fight with.
Absolutely. And it's like we'd never really hurt each other that much. Like we would fight, but it
Yeah.
would never be like to the point of.
Not punching. It was more like, remember I used to dig my nails in?
She used to dig. I used to have all these scratches. No, she used to dig her nails in, right? Because her long Nanny Margot nails. And I used to have all these like nail marks in my arms.
No, but Samantha
going
used
school.
to get like me in a headlock and then
was
like get like the
strong.
knee on the shoulder, like
Wrestling.
She would actually wrestle me. Whereas I was more spiteful, you was more
Yeah, but you
tough.
left a mark, and the minute you leave a mark, and you can go, Mum, look what they
Yeah,
did.
I
You
wasn't
know you're
smart
in
about
trouble.
it. But we used to use
disguise
weapons as well.
She'd throw the hairbrush Sky remote.
Okay, so really happy childhood. I mean, you pulled through it. I guess that's the thing. For anyone that's got kids that are arguing right now, you're
Yeah.
living proof that it's okay.
Yeah,
it's
push
okay.
through.
They will be
Really?
best friends in the end.
Yeah.
Did it make you look forward to like getting older, growing up, and having your own family? Did you always think that you'd be mums?
Yes.
Yes. I think all the women in our family are very maternal, aren't
Yes.
they? And I think that, like, even from my nan to my mum, like our aunties.
And our aunties had kids, so we was always around babies.
Yeah.
From like teenagers, really.
Yeah.
Actually, younger than that.
Yeah, younger
We
than
was
that.
younger than that, wasn't we?
So we've always
Always loved children and babies.
yeah.
I'm always like that person that will give a baby attention. You know, like some people love kids, but they just don't really care so much for a
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
I'm just we're kind of like that the whole way
Yeah.
through, aren't we? And we always say there's nothing better than a baby. Like, you know, they
Yeah.
just, I don't know. But yeah, we've always been pretty maternal. But we never thought actually we'd have 6 kids all around the same age.
But what did you think? Like, how many kids did you think you'd have? When did you think you'd start trying?
I always think I'd have 2, and because remember you was always really certain about having 3, and I was
It was
always
actually 5.
Oh, 5.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
sorry, yeah. No, Samantha actually said to me.
down a couple.
Yeah, Samantha said to me the other day, I'm not sure if I'm going to have any more. I'm like,
Because do you know what it is? Like, I find this question really hard, and I don't know, and it's a very natural question to ask. As soon as you had a baby, don't you find everyone always says, "Do you think you'll have another one?"
Yeah.
And I'm just like, hold on a minute, I don't know.
I've been with someone who had a 2-week-old and they asked her that question. I was like, that baby's
No.
fresh.
Yeah.
Fresh out of the box. How
She
are you
hasn't
asking
thought
that
about it.
question?
You can't, and I find, and even to now, and obviously Edward's not a newborn, I still find that question quite hard because I'm like, just about juggling the 3. I'm just got through the hardest bit, I think, and I'm really not sure. Like, and I'm going to tell you now because this is the honest answer. I do feel like there's one more in me, but I really just don't know. I'm really enjoying having Edward, and I just
Yeah.
want to enjoy him at the moment because, you know, everyone would say, do it straight away, back to back, get it out of the way. And I'm like, I don't feel like that. I really am enjoying Edward. I'm finding it easier now to spread my attention and love to all 3 of them. Paul and Rosie adore him. It's all kind of, I mean, in the start, it was, you know, I was all up in there. I was sort of crying every day because all my emotions were all over. But I feel like we're getting there now. And the thought of having another one, it's like, no, at the moment.
Yeah.
It's just like,
you
actually,
just want to enjoy it, and sometimes you don't want to feel like everything like is just a blur. You want to sort of actually look back and remember all those moments.
Yeah.
And obviously, for everyone, I feel like it's different circumstances,
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely.
Like, and everyone, you know, circumstances are different, but. I do agree with you. Like, I think it's nice tonight. You're at a point now where you're just really enjoying, and another baby isn't on the agenda. At the
and even
moment.
things like my jeans fit again. I'm like, I'm going to have to
Aw.
go back to square one. You come such a long way. Like with, you know, I mean, personally, everyone has their own kind of baby weight situation, don't they? And I actually gained quite a lot of weight with Edward, nearly 3 stone, and that was my heaviest throughout the all 3 babies.
Yeah.
And I didn't train or anything after. I didn't diet. I just let it happen naturally, and it's in the last sort of 6 weeks, I'd say.
yeah,
I'm pretty much back at my weight I was before I had Edward.
Have you felt any pressure to
No.
get back, or have you just let it?
I just let it be, and you know. And that's why I think it's probably taken so long. But I just, you know, I really enjoy my food.
But it hasn't taken
when you're
long.
breastfeeding.
Like
Yeah,
eight,
it really
8 months.
Yeah.
It's really not.
I think
I am not back to any of my pre-birth ways. I just kept adding, and I think every time I write a book, I add on an extra half a stone. I don't know. So there's so many different book babies, baby babies.
That's it. But yeah, I feel like me again. And although I'm still breastfeeding, like, you know, Edward's weaning now, but I feel like I've got my sort of body back, and he's not hanging off the boob all day long. You know, you start feeling a little bit more confident and more yourself. And you know, I've got a couple of weddings this year, like friends' weddings, and I'm really looking forward to that because I feel like I've been out of that for a couple of years, and it's just, you know, and I think, like, I love babies more than anything in the world, but I don't know.
Yeah, it does take a while to adjust, doesn't it? And even it's like your hormones as well, isn't it? And you're tired. And I do think, I mean, it's hard. I'm not, because it's different for me, because obviously I'm in it now. Like Margot's only 7 weeks, so I'm still like trying to figure out like what's going on and what I'm doing and everything else. But I do think now, I think there's been a change, isn't there, in like society with, you know, like with pressures of like looking a certain way after you've had a baby. I feel like now everyone's so much more, almost more grateful if you're looking normal and like if you're relatable and
I think
honest.
It's also celebrating what your body has done rather than going, great, that's done. Let's punish our bodies back into this snapback mentality.
So unrealistic.
Yeah,
completely. Like, I think that, I mean, exercise. I mean, I'd love to have the time to do something, but it's just not on the agenda right now.
But there's also the flip side to it, because like you look amazing, like you're very slim, and you was before you had Margot. And I always think there's another side to that as well, where some women that do just naturally lose their weight quite quick, like you have, because you have really.
Yeah, I mean, my tummy's like, you know, but
you haven't done anything.
No,
so then you don't want to get like. Again, like with social media, you can be scrutinised for being slim after having a baby, and you haven't actually done anything.
No, it's just
happened.
And that's the thing. It's not even. It's not. Sometimes I don't even think it's social media, because you can post a picture and then all of a sudden it's a headline.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then suddenly that's a glorified image, if you like, of oh, this is what you should do because it's incredible.
Yeah.
And actually, someone who's kind of feeling, well, I can't do that.
Yeah,
exactly. My body's different. You know, it's coping in a different way. Yeah, it's funny how other people can have a hold over women in that way, and what we feel like we should be doing.
Absolutely. And taken completely out of context, like you're saying, take that picture and then
and then it makes it look like as if like someone's trying to say, oh, look at me, and it's not. It's just
you.
Well, it's really interesting how the language around how they talk about how newspapers talk about women's body has changed. It's almost like they're celebrating, but they're not really.
No.
Flaunting, embracing.
Yes.
Those aren't. You're still doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But you're trying to sell it like you're celebrating that.
That's
body.
it.
But actually, there's so much packed into that.
Yeah, it's
so true. There's always something behind it, isn't there?
There is. Let's talk about meeting Greg and Paul. Did you both talk to them about? I'm going to do it in one question. I know you're two separate couples, but meeting your partners. Did you talk about kids straight away? Can you remember that?
I was very keen.
Yeah. Actually, you fell pregnant really, really soon.
Really quick.
How quick?
Actually, but it like, I hate saying it wasn't planned, because Paul and we met and it was kind of a whirlwind, and we did fall in love, but we didn't plan to have a baby, but we spoke about children. So I say it like wasn't planned, but then when I fell pregnant, we were really happy, if you know what I mean. But
and that happens. Like, I've got best friend who the same thing happens. They're married, 3 kids later. You know, it's good.
It was a shock. It was like, wow. I think we'd been together 5 months,
right?
So you can imagine, can't you? It was like, whoa. But then it kind of just
Talk
felt
me through
right.
that moment though of going, oh, I wonder if I should take a test.
So this is actually quite funny, because we'd been Dubai, all of us, for Greg's 30th, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Got back from Dubai, Paul had gone to the boxing. It's like this pre-kid life, you know, you just sort of Paul had gone to Vegas to watch a fight. Anyway, he came home from that a few days later. Bearing in mind, we're sort of, you know, still kind of dating and just, you know, on these drunk holidays.
Yeah.
And then my boobs didn't feel right. You know, I was in the shower and they were really kind of like, my nipples were really stinging. And obviously, where it's first child, it's something you haven't experienced before. Yeah. And I thought, something doesn't feel right. And I felt really fatigued and tired. And a couple of days passed, and I said to Paul, I was like, I feel like I'm going to take a pregnancy test. And he was like, why?
Why do you think?
Because I said, I don't feel like myself. And when I started Googling, you know, nipples and boobs, you know, it's the first thing that comes up. So it was actually in my old house in Brentwood, where we was both living at the time, in Essex, and done the pregnancy test. And obviously it was it was like positive, and we just, it was kind of like we had this nervous grin, you know, like it was like, right, okay, so here we go, because it was always gonna be like, as soon as we found out I was pregnant with Paul, I always knew that we was going to make it work.
Yeah.
I just felt happy and I felt really excited. I remember calling you, and everyone was surprised.
Yeah,
wasn't
well,
they?
I think because of just where you hadn't been
together.
together that long. Like,
Yeah.
I think naturally you would be, and because you'd never really spoken about it.
Exactly. It wasn't like really something we'd openly like, oh, we're trying or anything.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah,
really
yeah.
like that. And I was really thrilled and really happy. I just knew it was right. And like you're saying, we're quite maternal, and I had Nellie as my niece as well. So when Billie had Nellie, I was there every day, wasn't I? I was like the bug. Oh, just me again.
Yeah.
But I just loved being around Billie and Nellie. And when I found out I was pregnant, I couldn't quite believe it, because I was like, I'm going to have that for myself now. Like, it's my own baby.
Yeah.
So that was my story. So you can
What was
tell
it like
yours.
getting pregnant with Nellie?
I'm just trying to think. So Greg, when we first met, I always said that I wanted children, but Greg actually, when I first met him, he wasn't one of those that was like that fussed. But obviously that changed. Like, he said that he never used, I don't know if this is like a never used to want kids until
But now I've met you, baby.
exactly. I think that was it was like one of those.
It was his chat up line.
Cheesy chat up line.
Yeah.
3 kids later, but yeah, so we planned to we did plan to have Nellie, because I think I was only 23. I was 24 when I had Nellie, so I was quite young, and I just felt ready. Like, we'd been together about 2 years, and I just felt ready to have a baby, and fell pregnant with Nellie, and then Greg
Didn't Greg propose when you was pregnant?
when I was pregnant, with
Aw.
Nellie.
What was it like finding out you were pregnant? Can you remember?
I remember feeling so nervous.
Yeah.
Like, I remember doing the pregnancy test and keeping it to myself for a couple of weeks. I tried.
Did you?
Yeah. I remember I kept it to myself, and I remember feeling it was like the maddest feeling. I think because I was young as well, and I was the first out of like all of our friendship group. Oh no, sorry, well, one of our friends, but like the first in a long time. And I remember I tried to tell Mum and Samantha on 3 different occasions, right? I'd got
Do you
them
remember
round.
them?
Yeah, there was 3. No, so actually I probably didn't tell you. Well, I didn't find out I was pregnant till I was around 5.5 weeks with
Right.
Nellie. And then I waited a while to tell you, but I tried to tell them on 3 different occasions, and I
It's
never.
really hard though.
No, and I never forget on the
First,
on one of the occasions I didn't tell you because you was really hungover. You was like
We're in
laying
the
on the
mood.
sofa like, ugh. And I remember thinking, this is not the time.
That's hilarious.
I really, really remember that. And then I remember in the end, I went to the nail shop. I got my nails done. I come home and my mum was popping in, and I thought, I've got to do it. And I remember but I remember feeling
nervous.
and a little bit embarrassed.
Really?
How weird is that? Because obviously I was because I was young, I suppose.
I felt embarrassed with the third. I've got
Did
no
you?
idea what- Yeah.
Yeah, I never forget telling my mum I felt like a bit embarrassed. I don't know why. And also sometimes I think, you know those words, I'm pregnant. I don't know. Like, I
Yeah.
prefer to say I'm
Well,
having.
we're pregnant.
No, I prefer to say I'm having a baby. I don't know why. But anyway, so I remember telling Mum, we was in the kitchen, and I went to Mum, I've got something to tell you. And Mum was like, you're pregnant. And I was like, yes. And I remember that's how I did it with Mum. And then
I think over the years, Mum knows now. If you go to Mum, I've got something to tell you.
Yeah.
I think she just knows.
Yeah.
One of us are going to say, you're pregnant.
and that was it. And then
Didn't you show me? I think you showed me your scan picture.
Yeah, I showed you my scan picture.
You've done that with me with Margot as well.
Yes. Oh yeah, at yours.
At mine. I can't remember how you told me with Arthur.
It must have been really exciting, like the first pregnancy in the family as well.
Yeah,
Billy's,
it was
Nelly
really exciting. Everyone was, because it was like the next generation of
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
baby, and then I think I had visitors for months.
You
I
still
did.
do?
You know, like when you have the baby and you have all the visitors. I remember.
It tails off, I think. By the third, there's only a hand.
No,
if that.
no one really
No
cares.
one cares.
No one. It's so true though, isn't it? Actually, like no one.
But actually, like, do you know what I find with babies, newborns, and people say, "Oh, can I come and see the baby and give him a hug?" You feel like, "Oh, yeah, I want to say yeah," but by the third, I toughened up a little bit because actually, a lot of them people, you don't see them for months on end.
Yeah.
Family, let us in every day because we're always going to be around, to see and hug and be around the children. They're our family. But you get so many people that just want to burst through the door and hug. Then they don't see them until they're like 2 or 3.
I was actually quite neurotic with Margot when I first had her, like with people coming round and stuff. This is quite bad, but I actually did avoid a lot of people coming over, like even like friends. And
So did I.
But that's not bad.
Because
That's sensible.
I just, as well, like there were so many viruses and stuff going round. I was so worried about her, and Nellie and Arthur had not been very well, and I just felt so worried about her getting anything. I've become a little bit like, I just switched off from it, and I didn't actually let many people come around. Like a lot of our friends hadn't met Margot until my birthday on Sunday.
Well, a lot of our friends haven't met Edward and he's 8 months old.
Yeah.
So you've done really well.
So you've done well for 7 weeks. I literally shut the door and was only letting family in for ages.
Yeah.
But
I think that's something very different when it's family or someone that you really know
Yes.
who can just come in, they'll make you a cup of tea or coffee. You
That's
don't
it.
feel like you have to perform.
Yeah, and wait
being
on
the
that.
mum, being the one who's got it all together.
Completely. And that's the other thing. Like, sometimes you just think, I just can't be bothered to talk to anyone today. Like,
Absolutely.
That's how especially with Margot, I was like that. But with the other two, I did feel like more I had to perform and let people in and make them a tea and be all like, as if I'm showered and But with Margot, I don't know. I just felt different. I felt like, actually, I think when you get a little bit older as well,
experience.
you feel more confident to say no to people, don't you, or just ignore people.
I want to sit
that's
in my own
case.
filth for the day and just hug my baby. Not have any
Yeah,
friends
exactly.
outside.
That's it.
So how were the first pregnancies? Because I feel like each pregnancy is so different.
Yeah.
What are you like pregnant?
This is annoying, but we are actually quite good, aren't we?
That's not annoying.
And
No,
really,
but so like some people
Who are
like get
really
sickness
struggling,
and stuff.
yeah,
They struggle.
yeah.
We actually had. Well, I'm speaking for both of us. All pregnancies were very similar,
really similar, yeah.
and I actually really enjoy being pregnant.
Same.
And actually, our first babies were both back to back, so our labours were similar. Second labours with Arthur and Rosie were
quite quick.
very similar. And then third was quite different. I had Edward at home.
We thought they was going to go the same, didn't we?
thought,
Or
but
similar.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
But yeah, they didn't.
they
in the
didn't.
end.
Billy's went on for a bit longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy being pregnant. And then when I have the baby and the time goes on a little bit, I always miss having a bump.
Yeah.
I just really like that.
I do look at
pregnancy
my
stage.
pictures and think, but it's funny because this pregnancy, I was really looking forward to. In the end, I just wanted her to come. Obviously, I didn't know she I just wanted the baby to come, and I was looking forward to thinking, oh, I want to be like, I'm looking forward to not having my bump and having the baby. Whereas before, it didn't bother me. But this one actually, I was quite looking forward to being. But I was very uncomfortable towards the end of this pregnancy.
My third pregnancy wasn't very. My body didn't like me.
Yeah, really. Did you feel like uncomfortable?
Uncomfortable. It just hurt.
Yeah, I was, especially towards the last 3 months, I was just uncomfortable. But she was breech until 38 weeks.
Right.
So that probably explains maybe as
Yeah.
well. But just
I was a lot more tired third with Edward, especially with the other two as well.
Yeah.
And I don't remember actually going to the toilet as much as I did with the. Honestly, with Edward, I was up. I got more
Same.
sleep when Edward was here than I did when I was pregnant because I was actually going to the toilet in the end. Like it felt like every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It was horrendous. And I even said to Billie, I feel like putting a potty next to the bed.
She was considering it.
Because I feel like
I was considering, but I went, I'm sorry, but I think I draw the line with that. I was like, I'm not going to lie. I don't think you should do that.
Get up and walk across the land and actually go to the toilet, it wakes you up.
No, it does.
I was like, if I could just roll out of bed and sit on like an adult potty, I didn't do it. But it went on for months, and then as soon as Edward and it just stopped as soon as he come, and I was like, this is like heaven. I feel like I've got my bladder back.
That's the thing. It's obviously where the baby sits within your body.
Yes.
'Cause
Yeah.
With my third, I could, for the first time in my life, go for the whole night without getting up for a week.
Yeah, well,
That's amazing. No, I was quite similar to Samantha. Not at the stage where I wanted a potty at the side of my bed. But I would get up some nights like 6-7 times throughout the night.
Wow.
Yeah. But now actually, and you forget, don't you? And now I think, do you know what? Some days, this is actually really funny. I was thinking about this the other day. Right, you know, like when we were saying about our minds all over the place. I think I need to go to the toilet, and then I forget that I need to go to the toilet, and then I go for a long time without going, and then I think, oh, I need to go. I remember I needed the toilet earlier, and then I go.
That's also the mum thing, isn't it? Because the thing that's for
thing.
you gets pushed at the bottom of the list.
Exactly, and then I sit and I'm like, oh yeah, and then I was thinking about. Wow, I don't go to the toilet that much more. I used to go like all day, every day when I was pregnant, which obviously wasn't that long ago.
What was your birth like with Nellie?
Oh, really hard.
Was
really,
it?
Yeah, 38-hour labour. She was back
Did
to
you
back.
do anything leading into it?
No. So this is another thing when I had Nellie. So I didn't know anything about breastfeeding. I didn't know anything about a birthing plan.
Yeah.
I didn't know about anything.
Had you thought about joining like an NCT or doing hypnobirthing or anything like that?
Nothing. I don't know what. I think because I didn't have anyone around me that had recently had a baby, and I don't know. So was there social media then?
Yeah, there was definitely social media.
Was there I don't even know. But I just
But
didn't
it's
really.
also, you think your feed is curated, it's who you follow. And if you're not following people
Completely.
that have babies, there's a whole other world that opens up. And
Exactly.
you know,
And I didn't
so
know
true.
any of that. And I don't know what I was thinking and what I was doing at all, just completely winging it. But I had quite it was a tough labour with Nellie. 38 hours, she was back to back.
There was one point where Greg was actually asleep on the chair, sitting upright with just a white sheet over his head.
Yeah.
Because it was like, it was gone from day, night.
Yeah.
And then at one point, I remember I've got pictures and videos.
Yeah, it was a real long one.
I think I fell asleep as well at one point.
You did. I've got pictures of you both
How
asleep
many
with white
people
sheets
were in the
over
room
you.
with you?
Well, I luckily had my
Wasn't
mum,
allowed.
Samantha, and Greg, and
We was kind of doing shifts. Sort of like someone would go downstairs. And
we just winged it because you're only really meant to have two, aren't you?
Right.
But we just got away with it somehow.
we got away with it with Nellie and Arthur, but Margot, she kicked me out.
Yeah.
I was so close, yet so far.
Gutted, yeah. We were juggling it around at first, but then
And then she literally, the voice changed and the look changed.
the look changed.
And then my mum started getting like,
Irate.
I was thinking, Billie does not need this. I went, Mum, I'll go. Mum was like, no, I'll go. And then I was like, Mum, I'll go. It's fine. Then I just left them, missed it. But I didn't really miss it. But
Yeah, no, it was. Nellie was a tough one. Arthur was.
What happened at the start? How did you go in?
So I was at home and I just started contracting. I started getting the contractions,
Yeah.
and it's quite mad with your first labour, isn't it? Because you think, oh, this is bad, and you have no idea what's to
coming,
come.
yeah.
And I remember thinking this is bad, and being in the bath and at home, and I went to the hospital. And my waters hadn't broken, so they was like, go home. You're not dilated enough. Went home, had a McDonald's, and then went back again like later on that day, and they broke my waters for me. And then it just went on and on and on, didn't it? It was, but the contractions were so close for so long, but I just wasn't, my cervix wasn't dilating.
Yeah.
And then I remember they moved me up to a room where they was going to almost do a forceps delivery on Nellie because she was there, but she wasn't
Coming down, yeah.
down. And at this point, I was just on the floor. I was so exhausted.
I can't really remember the last bit.
And I remember
So you pushed.
yeah, and then they pushed, and then obviously like the burn and everything. Yeah, and it was very intense. I remember it took me a good few weeks to recover with Nellie. And
Did you have to have stitches or anything?
yeah, I had to have stitches, and I think I should have I bruised my coccyx really bad in labour through pushing down on the bed, and I think I should have been sitting on a rubber ring actually,
really?
and I wasn't, and I never forget, and I still get that pain now when I get up sometimes from sitting down in a certain position, and it's like but yeah, it was quite tough, and I think I just didn't know what to expect as well. Obviously, you don't with your first. Yeah, it was a hard.
And also you can plan, like even with Paul being my first, I done hypnobirthing. I had this, and I went for a home birth with little Paul as well. First baby, and I just had the pool set up, didn't I?
Yeah.
And my birth plan didn't go to plan. It went on for a long time. It wasn't any emergency, but if you can't go too long at home,
Right.
before they transfer you in. So I was contracting, but it was just going on for too long, and my temperature started to go a bit high. So then we transferred into hospital. delivered him safely at hospital. It was fine, but you have this plan. I had all the music on, and he was back to back as well. So all my pain was in my back.
Yeah,
and that was another thing that you don't really kind of prepare for. They're all different. And then, sorry, go
I
on.
often think that's the difficult thing though with birth plans.
Yes.
Because it makes you think about the ideal of what you'd like, which is amazing.
Yes.
But it sets you up for a fall in many ways.
Yeah.
Because so many things can change and you have to be adaptable with it, whatever is going on in that moment.
Well, I'd never had a birthing plan with Nellie or Arthur, like in the sense of just what will happen, will happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, I went into hospital both times with them. But with Margot, I did have a little bit of a birthing plan. And it went complete opposite to what it could have been, like what was in my plan. Like I'm not like neurotic about things like that. Like, it has to be this, that.
No,
but my midwife did suggest, why don't we do a birth plan for you? And I was like, yeah, that might be quite nice. She was like, just because I feel like you know a bit more.
What,
as
did you
well
write it
now.
down?
Yeah. So
okay, I didn't
she
do
done
that.
it. They do it by. Look at me, look at you, like you don't should know. Sorry,
midwife.
No, they do like. They can do it by pictures and stuff as well.
Okay, so I didn't
it's
do
easy
that.
to look at.
Yeah, so
Okay.
but I don't think we got it out. Did we get it out?
No.
we
So
didn't get it.
what did you put on it?
It was just, I think it was things like I wanted to go in the birthing pool. I wanted like music, lights down. I wanted Greg to say the sex of the baby, like, which obviously he did do that. But then I had to be induced. So instantly, no pool, no birth pool, no. The lights were down, but it wasn't exactly.
I went in there at one point
dull,
from
wasn't
coming
it?
up when me and Greg kept swapping in and out, and I was like, "Is there any lamps?" Because
It was
dark.
it was just like dark and
big.
grey.
It was like quite a big, empty-ish sort of room,
And the
wasn't
thing
it?
is, she didn't care because she's like,
in
the thick of it. And I was like, we need some kind of sound.
It was very.
So I put Friends on.
Yeah, she did. It was hilarious. It felt very. What's the word? Like
Clinical.
Yeah, very clinical with the drips and the beeping and lots of people in and out monitoring mine and the baby's heartbeat constantly. It was very like, whereas the other two, obviously with Nellie, I did go into like one of those because I think you go on the birthing suite, then you go to the where it's like more medicalised, isn't it? Like, because they thought there's only forceps to it. After I was just on the birthing suite on the low bed,
Right.
in the pool, out the pool, which was amazing. But yeah, with Margot, it was very clinical, wasn't it? Almost a bit like.
And I think
at some
I
point.
not long had Edward, and being at home when everyone was there, and it was just like a different. That's the beauty of having a home birth. You are.
Have you done all three?
Two.
Oh, two, obviously,
Yeah,
'cause
I went with Paul, and
Yeah.
then Rosie had a home birth, and Edward. So Billie was there at both as well. Everyone was there, to be honest.
Really?
With Edward, Paul and Rosie was there. Billie was there. My mum, obviously, Big Paul
was
and Paul's
amazing.
mum. I was like, everyone's here.
So what was
Like
it
the
about a home
nativity,
birth
nativity.
that made you go, that's what I want to do?
I don't really like hospitals,
Right.
and I feel like if you're low risk and you're, I guess, not anxious or I've always been quite confident with being pregnant and the thought of childbirth, and I guess maybe my pain threshold's quite good because you can't have any drugs or pain relief or anything when you have a home birth. But
And did you do hypnobirthing?
I did with Paul, and it kind of went out the window because I ended up getting transferred in. Although it did actually still keep me quite calm. I was quite calm, even though I had the back-to-back. And
even like on the first bit, because I did hypnobirthing ahead of having Margot this time around, and for the first bit, but then when that oxytocin drip went in, that was like.
So then with Rosie, I'd done the hypnobirthing again as well, and I had Rosie at home. That she was that was quite quick, wasn't it? And that was really, and I felt really in control of the whole situation, and I had her in the water, and then obviously I just thought it'd be exactly the same with Edward. And I mean, I did do well, like you say, I'd done amazing.
Oh,
and I had a home
amazing.
birth, but I didn't feel as in control with Edward, and I really, really felt it. Like third baby, I don't know if it's, and it was fairly quick-ish from established labour, which I think is where I take it from when they're coming in thick and fast. It was about 4 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot of midwives, I think they say that third baby's either really quick or it's really hard. Like there's
It just felt so intense with Edward, and like, I look back now and I laugh, but like, what was those noises that I was making? It was like,
but that's the moon,
couldn't
isn't it?
control
That's like
them.
a noise over your body.
But that's exactly.
It
And
was
that's
like
just such
that was
a
my pain relief because I
Yeah.
couldn't have anything. So that was like releasing that pain. Anyway, and then I thought I was going to have him in the water like I did with Rosie, and I was in the water and I was like, I've got to get out. And the midwife was saying, you need to stay, like, because she could see that the baby was coming. I was like, I need to get out. I ended up giving birth to Edward standing up. She was underneath. Wasn't she?
she was you were squatting
Paul
down.
was holding me. I don't know how he could hold me because I had all
He
my
was
weight.
shaking.
Really?
Because she was pushing down, like, obviously so much, and he was trying to hold her up because the midwife was going, Sam, you're going to sit on your baby, keep your bum up. Like, it was like a real commotion in the corner of the kitchen, wasn't it?
It was.
I mean,
Did
it was
you give
amazing.
birth in the kitchen?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the corner, of all places, it was like
We was all in like a small corner
with
of the
wires
kitchen.
coming out the telly. It was just the most like
It was
why?
bizarre. Why we was in the corner, I don't know.
And again, I didn't know with Edward what. So babies come out like onto my chest, and we're all screaming, and then like a few seconds passed, and I was like, well, what is it? And it was my son's like little paw. I went, you need to tell mummy what it is, and it took him a second because like the
The
cord,
umbilical cord
it's
is all a bit confusing. Yeah.
it's all overwhelming, and he was like, it's a boy, and then we all just
Yeah, it was
amazing. It was amazing, and I think just being at home and it just the midwife does a couple of checks. Then you're up in bed. I was up in bed within half an hour.
You literally had a shower and was laying in bed.
Laying in
with
bed,
him.
they're all making tea and toast and biscuits. They're all downstairs celebrating and laughing. It just was it's such a nice, if you can do it. I think actually a lot now, the midwives try and encourage mums to have a home birth if, you're low risk.
It's funny, isn't it? It's something that I always thought that I would love to do. But because I didn't do it first time round and everything turned out fine, I almost felt like I don't want to jinx it.
That's
Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
I kind of feel like I'm happy in hospital.
Yeah.
Like that is a safe place. For me, I know lots of bad things happen in hospitals and sad things, but for me it is a place that you still go to get better. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
To get cared for.
Exactly, yeah. It's
Um,
another
so-
way of looking at it. Or we obviously look at it in two different ways.
But I love the idea of a home
Yeah,
birth. But it was
yeah.
that. Yeah, it was almost more like a superstition type thing, I think.
Yeah.
Of like,
That's how I felt because I was
Yeah, 'cause
considering
I
a home
was
birth
trying
with
to-
Margot.
especially if you've seen.
Yeah,
two,
exactly. And I was really adamant at first with Margot, and then something changed in my head, and I didn't feel confident, and I felt like, what if too much?
Yeah.
And Samantha said to me, "Do you know what? If you're in that mindset, go to hospital." But actually, and do you know what? It wouldn't have worked out for me because obviously what happened, because my waters did break at home, and I was staying at home for as long as I could, but I had to be induced in the end anyway.
Yeah.
So it wasn't
Even
meant
if
to
you had
be.
planned for a home birth, you still would have gone
I
in.
would have had to gone in, with this situation. But yeah, it's amazing. But it's just you've got to be in that mindset, I think, haven't you, to feel 100% confident with doing it at home.
Yeah.
So sorry, to quickly finish on that. So with Rosie, I felt like I was really in control of my contractions and all of it. Not saying it was pain free because it wasn't, but with Edward, I don't know what happened to my mindset, but it was really painful.
Yeah.
It was almost like everything had closed and sealed up probably after 5
Really?
years. And I just felt it was just really intense. And then
Yeah.
even the push, all of it. And I remember as soon as he came out, I was thinking, I thought, thank God for that. And it was actually only a short amount of time, but it just felt like it was
Yeah.
going on forever.
I realised in my third labour that I wasn't breathing in the right way. I was literally breathing just into my chest, and I was like, "Well,
Yeah.
that's doing nothing, is it?
I
Like
know.
breathe down into."
But it's so
into
hard
it.
to remember all
I
these
know.
things, isn't it? When you're in the thick of it,
Talk to me about sleeping, because I was listening to your podcast, and Sam, you've gone into a separate room with Edward.
Me and Paul haven't shared a bed for 6-7 years.
Really?
I promise.
How is this immaculate conception for Edward?
So what happened was, with little Paul, it was kind of just like actually it was 3 of us to start. Then I realised that because I wanted to co-sleep.
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, no, I would rather do it on my own because I feel like just motherly instinct. I don't think men, I don't know, I just feel like it's just...
You can control the
No,
situation
yeah.
a bit
Exactly.
more,
I think, I
So then as soon as little Paul started to get a bit bigger, then it was kind of the 3 of us in the bed. And then when Rosie come along, it was me and Rosie and then Paul and Paul, and it was like that for a long time. And then it was kind of like the bed hopping was all sort of chopping and changing, but it was never at any point just me and Paul and Rosie in their beds. It was like Paul with Paul, me with Rosie, or vice versa. And then when I fell pregnant with Edward, obviously, then I was co-sleeping with Edward as well for months. So it's still that way. So although I've just started to get Edward into a routine in the cot, he's in the room with me, we're in the spare room, and Paul's in with Paul and Rosie. So we haven't shared a bed for years. And it's really weird if we've ever done like a hotel stay or something and it's the both of us in the bed. And I'm like, oh, I don't...
But hold on, when Edward sleeps in his car, are you and Paul going to get back in the bed together?
No, because Paul's still in the bed with Paul and Rosie at the moment, in the big bed in the main
But
room.
do you plan on putting Paul and Rosie, getting them in their own beds?
It's always been a plan for years, but it's never happened.
There's always a plan.
Yeah. It never goes
Wouldn't that be nice in the future?
But you know what? The other night I had all three of them on my own because Paul was in Manchester away on business. So I was like, right, I've got this under control. So I got Edward to sleep before 7:30. That was great. I knew he was going to wake up at 1, but that was fine. So I thought, got the whole evening. Got Paul and Rosie into bed together. And I just said to them, don't get out. Mummy's going to be downstairs. I've got jobs to do. I said, Daddy's not here. I said, you're going to have to work with me here. I can't lay in this bed with you all night. And I was like, okay. So then they just both stayed in that bed all night
they were
together.
Yeah.
Without an adult.
See, do you usually stay
Paul does.
while they fall asleep?
Yes.
See, we're in that as well at the moment.
Paul does.
And I know so many, I mean, you know, there's many people like in bedrooms or sitting on stairs outside waiting.
God, we've been doing it for years in our house as well.
When Tom's not there, because they're all in their beds now, but if Tom's not there and one of them's a little bit unsettled, I'll just be like, go sleep in our bed.
Yeah. Yes, we do the same.
So if you could write a letter on being a mum, who would it be to and what would you say?
I would probably write a letter to my mum and say thank you.
That's a good idea.
For being such an amazing mum. My mum was on her own a lot with us when we were like from babies, really, wasn't she, as well? And even growing up as teenagers, and I don't know, I just think like, I don't know, like there's, you don't realise until you become a mum how much your mum, and our mum, like when I think about it as well, like even like all the school runs, mum only, like we're lucky, like Paul and Greg do this, like the morning school run, right? Mum was the only person that done the school run all them times. I know it sounds really silly, but you know, like you just think all those.
Absolutely.
And like,
how much of herself she gave to you.
Yeah, everything. And
Christmases. I always say to Mum
and everything,
every
Mum,
Christmas, sorry to interrupt you, I always say to Mum every Christmas, I say, thanks, Mum. Because you know, like, what it's like, what you do and prepare for Father Christmas and that whole thing. And actually, Mum done that for us every year. And every year it was so magical and special. And I always say to Mum, because now we're doing it, obviously, for our children. And we're like, I always say, thank you for that. Like, I really appreciate what you've done for us.
That's the thing. I think it is like the appreciation, isn't it? Like you really don't realise, do you, what you like, how you have to juggle things as a mum and like everything you do on a daily basis. And then I was thinking, like, you know, Mum actually done a lot of that on her own as well, didn't she? For us, for both of us. And we had, like, going back to your question earlier, we had such a lovely childhood and growing up. Everything was always lovely, wasn't it, what Mum done for us? And, you know, she just tried her best, didn't she? And I think actually,
thank you.
Yeah, I would.
Sam, who would yours be?
I think maybe Rosie, because I'm just trying to think. So I've got 2 boys and a girl, and I just feel like it would be quite nice to write that letter. I don't know, and you know, share the experiences I had raising her and with her brothers.
Yeah,
and, you know, you can,
and also probably to say as well, like to like your daughters as well, like it's okay, like to make mistakes and nothing. No one's perfect, and think of all the mistakes and the things that we've done, like
absolutely,
like even I know this sound, but like even when you know when they're little, sometimes like you know if you've been out and you've got a hangover, and the next day you just wing it with them, like even things like that, like when they're toddlers, right? You know, like we've all done. You know, you're not perfect, like
that's it. And I think just like, and also saying, because I do always say this to mine. I always say, because I say, well, when I'm a nanny, I was like, if you need me, I'll be here for you. Like, I love saying that because I always think I can wait because I'm enjoying my moment with my children, but I actually also really look forward to that part of life as well where I'm going to be the nan. And I feel like I just want them all to know that whatever they need or any advice or any help or any babysitting, I'm here.
Yeah.
I love that. We end each podcast, and I'm really sad to be getting to the end because I've loved this. We end each podcast with you completing 3 sentences. Okay. So the first sentence is being a mum means.
That's so hard.
This you never stop worrying. that is like,
I was going to say, being a mum, you never get a moment to yourself.
yeah, both very true.
Very valid. Next sentence is, since having children, I
have learnt to be patient.
Oh.
I think I used to be quite erratic when I was like younger and a teenager before having, and very
it's true.
like very fiery and like, you know, but since becoming a mum, my gosh, do you learn the art of patience,
Yeah.
don't you?
Very true.
To try and breathe through it sometimes and just think, no.
Absolutely.
I think I am a better person. I just feel like I always was meant to be a mum, and I feel like I'm fulfilled, you know, like that just makes me feel it's like the best thing that could have ever happened.
Yeah.
And I feel better for it, you know.
Final sentence. I'm happy when
I'm at home with the family. Friday or Saturday, takeaway. Me and Paul love a curry. So we always get a curry takeaway. And then just being at home, where it's winter at the moment, you know, it's like warm and cosy. And the kids are playing and, you know, Ed was crawling now. And it's just that I just love being at home. I really do.
I'm exactly the same. Like, I really enjoy being at home at the moment as well. I just feel like safe, comfortable at home.
Warm.
Warm. But I also will be happy when I'm on holiday with a cocktail in my hand in the sun with the kids, obviously, as well.
I forgot about
Family
that. My
holiday.
last holiday was so hard with all three of them.
Yeah. And not like
Hopefully
just a
that
nice
don't come.
family holiday.
it gets easier. It gets easier. Holidays
Yeah.
when they start playing with each other. I think when they're out and about as well, they just kind of come together, don't they? It's their time to shine.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Oh, it's been an absolute delight. I feel like I just want to continue talking. But, you know.
We could chat all day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.